Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the May 5th, 2025 Troy City Council meeting. This evening, we are honored to have Pastor Paul Monson from Salt Church to provide our invocation. So please rise if you are able for that invocation, and then remain standing for a special Pledge of Allegiance.
I'm going to begin with a short word. I urge then, first of all, that petitions, prayers, intercession, and thanksgiving be made for all people, for kings and all those in authority, that we may live peaceful and quiet lives in all godliness and holiness. This is good and pleases God our Savior. You know, if you go into a Hallmark store, there's one thing you probably will not find: an appreciation card for a politician. But Paul tells us here that we're not supposed to grumble about our government, but to give thanks for our leaders. So I want to personally give thanks to all of you, the mayor, and all of you men and women who serve on city council for all that you do. Let us pray. Oh, Lord, Heavenly Father, I pray to Lord that your people might live peaceful and quiet lives in all godliness and holiness, that your people would respect the government that you've instituted and give thanks for our leaders and not grumble about them. I pray to Lord for your blessing upon this meeting, that you might bless this meeting with humility, with wisdom, and peace. In Jesus' name I ask it. Amen. Thank you.
Thank you, Pastor. Now it's my treat to welcome up Scout Troop 1705 from Hill Elementary School, who can lead us in our Pledge of Allegiance. Start when you're ready.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Have a good night. All right, I'll call the May 5th, 2025 Troy City Council meeting to order and ask for the roll call from Ms. Dixon.
Mayor Baker?
Here.
Councilmember Brooks? Councilmember Chamberlain-Krenga?
Here.
Councilmember Chanda?
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Gunn?
Here.
Councilmember Hamilton?
Here.
Councilmember Hoderick?
Here.
We do have quorum present this evening, and I did receive notification from Councilmember Brooks that she would be unavailable to attend tonight's meeting because she is out of the county. So I will move resolved that Troy City Council hereby excuses the absence of Councilmember Teresa Brooks at the regular City Council meeting of May 5th, 2025 due to being out of the county.
Support.
Moved by the chair, supported by Councilmember Chamberlain-Krenga, that we approve the resolution excusing the absence of Councilmember Brooks as read into the record. Any discussion? The vote, Ms. Dixon.
Mayor Baker?
Yes.
Councilmember Chamberlain-Krenga?
Yes.
Councilmember Chanda?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Gunn?
Yes.
Councilmember Hamilton?
Yes.
Councilmember Hoderick?
Yes.
Motion carries. Next up are certificates of recognition and special presentations. We have two this evening. C1 is a proclamation to celebrate the Electro Eels robotics team number 66746. So Electro Eels, if you will join me down here, I'd like to present a proclamation.
Oh my God.
It's good to see you all again. Feelings mutual. Here, come up here a little bit. You can stay on, let's see. Try to make sure everybody can be seen. So there we go. You can scoot a little, how about? All right, so this is a proclamation to celebrate the Electro Eels robotics team number 66746. And I'm going to read this proclamation into the record. Whereas the Electro Eels team number 66746 are a first LEGO League robotics team from Troy. The team consists of 7 students from Wass Elementary School and 1 student from Hill Elementary. All of the students are currently in 4th and 5th grade. And whereas the Electro Eels team number 66746, our members are Jonathan, Marcos, Alap, Nivan, Arjun, Ganadipak, and Siddharth from Wass Elementary School, and Mira from Hill Elementary School. The Electro Eels coaches Nikhil and Miguel are responsible for different aspects of mentorship for the team, and mentor, is it Rika? Richa has been primarily, should be up here too. The parents should be, the leader should be up here too, I realize, in your shirts. And mentor Richa has been primarily responsible for the innovation project. And whereas the Electro Eels team won the best robot game and the championship trophy at the Troy Shark Fest qualifier in Troy, and won the best robot game and the championship trophy at the Michigan State Championship in Mason, Michigan, the Electro Eels proudly represented Michigan in the World Festival in Houston, Texas in April of 2025, just last month. Whereas, as part of the competition, in addition to the robot game and design, the Electro Eels team also worked on an innovation project called the Lamprey Lure Buoy, aimed at helping with sea lamprey control in the Great Lakes and supporting the fishing community. Sea lampreys are a large threat to our local Great Lakes fishing communities. Their Lamprey Lure Buoy will help to control this problem by detecting and luring the juveniles away without killing them. And whereas Dr. Wei-Ming Lee, Dr. Tyler Buchner, Kristen Lounsbury, and Dr. Michael Wagner from Michigan State University have been their expert advisors for this project, interacting with the team and providing valuable feedback. The Great Lakes Fishery Commission also has recognized their efforts, and they are very grateful for the support and encouragement from the Great Lakes. This is funny. This is going to sound funny. We're very grateful for the support and encouragement from the Great Lakes Fishery Commission Chair, Mayor Ethan Baker. And whereas the Electro Eels team are also very well-rounded as they participate in community service projects such as food drives, beach cleanups, and promoting STEM. And now, therefore, be it resolved that the mayor and the city council of the city of Troy hereby congratulate the Electro Eels team number 66746 and all of their members, all of their adult coaches and their mentors too, for working tirelessly to excel in the field of robotics, bringing pride and positive recognition to the city of Troy. And be it further resolved that the mayor and the city council of the city of Troy invite all residents to celebrate the Electro Eels team, their achievements, and to wish them much success in all future endeavors, and thank them for being great role models for our community and exceptional advocates for the field of robotics. So I have this proclamation for all of you for your team. It's presented today, this 5th day of May 2025. I signed it as the mayor. All of our members of Troy City Council have also signed it. We're very happy and excited to celebrate you with some great students here in the city of Troy who traveled all the way to Houston for a world competition with an amazing, amazing robotics project. And also, as the chair of the Great Lakes Fishery Commission, it was a fun surprise to learn that you've been working on something related to sea lamprey, which is something I do outside of my role as mayor. And it was fun when we got to meet at the library in March, and I got to see all your projects and everything too. So I know everybody, the Great Lakes Fishery Commission is based in Ann Arbor. All of that team is really excited about this project and all the work you've done. And so I'm really just excited to have you here and to know that you're awesome Troy students making our future a great place. So congratulations to all of you. I'm gonna shake all your hands. Proclamation. You want to face that row. Whoever's in the center. Can you hold it?
The coaches in the back. And see the,
There you go.
oh, he's so tall. There you go. Wait, I can't. All right, turn around. Wait, lift it up. Make the piece right.
No, Baker shouldn't be too super, should he? No, it's fine. It's just hard to keep straight.
There you go.
There you go. Thank you. All right, C2 is a proclamation in recognition of the 56th Annual Professional Municipal Clerks Week, which is this week. I'm actually not going to read this proclamation into the record, but I do want to have our city clerk come down and our deputy city clerk, and Beth is also here. Oh, come on over, Beth. I want to present this proclamation to the three of you. This is a professional municipal clerks week. We're celebrating here in Troy, but really I think it's important for all of us to celebrate it. In 2022, you were the Michigan Clerk of the Year. I understand you're a deputy, as a deputy, you're a finalist this year for Deputy Clerk of the Year. Beth, you're gonna have to work on something to get up there, but no. We just want to say, obviously, we're, all of us on council and the city, of course, love our clerk's office and all the hard work you're doing for all of us at all times in this city. And I'm happy to present this proclamation to all of you and to share in the appreciation of municipal clerks, not just here in Troy, but all throughout, because what you do is very, very important for our democracy and for everything else, and not just about voting. You do a lot of work unrelated to voting too. But we're grateful for you, and we present this proclamation to you. I'm going to give it to Eileen because she's over here, but come on this side, it'll be better for the picture because you're not seeing it. So we'll come over here, we'll get away from the podium, we'll present it to all of you. We'll say thank you so much to our clerks. Oh, we really do have an awesome clerks team, so thank you. All right, that concludes certificates of recognition and special presentations this evening. We have no carryover items, but we do have a public hearing. E1 is the adoption of the 2025-2026 annual city budget. There are some late submittals related to E1, or one late submittal. And this will be presented here by our Chief Financial Officer, Robert Malzek, and our Controller, Kyle Leaf.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Council. Appreciate your time and attention tonight. Wanted to go just a little bit backwards 3 weeks ago when the management team under City Manager Frank Nastasi's leadership, we presented the 2026 budget, and that was on April 14th. At that time, the City Council did their due diligence with several questions and discussions in making certain that this budget was proper for this community. I was very humbled by your actions and the amount of homework that this council put forth on that 367-page document, as it is truly our guiding principle for the year. The budget will again win the award that Kyle will submit for the GFOA's Distinguished Budget Presentation Award. Our budget's foundation was threefold, three strategies. Number one, preserve public health, safety, and welfare. Number two, focus on core facilities and infrastructure, including major and local streets. And thirdly, provide world-class quality of life amenities. We believe these strategies are accomplished while maintaining one of the lowest millage rates in the state at 9.7919 mils. This is an incredible story that continues to play out. The low millage rate is possible by our continued growth in taxable value of over 5% this year, with an overall value of $6.9 billion. On the expenditure side, we continue to monitor our expenditures with strict accounting principles to ensure we are good stewards of the taxpayers' dollars. Lastly, this budget is balanced and meets all the requirements set forth by the state of Michigan and this city council. We look forward to you passing this budget tonight, and we can take any further questions if there are any. And thank you very much again for your time on this.
Thank you. Any questions? We've obviously had budget study sessions. We've asked a lot of questions leading up to that study session. We've asked a lot of questions since.
Correct.
So this is not the first time we've seen this document, this budget plan tonight, so I don't want anyone to think that. Any questions for Rob? All right. Well, then I will open the public hearing. I don't see that anybody is signed up to speak for E1 for the adoption of this budget, but that doesn't preclude you from speaking if you'd like to. Come forward, please. And when you come forward, please state your name. And then you have 3 minutes per our council rules. When there's 1 minute left, the light will turn yellow, and you'll have, when it's red, it's time to stop.
Russell Reynolds, just wanted your name tags are switched. by the way. One thing, based on the meeting last week on the library, is it possible to add a traffic study into the budget for that, especially because there's now going to be access based on the plan to the library off of Livernois? And turning into the community center already on even a normal day, sometimes you're waiting in that center turn lane for a few minutes, and then you're talking about adding this almost 90,000 square foot building there, increasing traffic, and you're going to have traffic backing up towards Big Beaver on Livernois, which could be quite an issue. So I was just wondering, I can get into issues with thoughts on the library plan later, but if a traffic study could be added to the budget or come out of one of the funds, just because I think that's really important to do before we spend more money on the planning and going further steps into looking at the library and possibilities there.
Thank you. Anyone else like to speak? Joey.
My name is Joey Colby Bernert. I live at 5125 Shady Creek Drive. I was just going to ask if it's possible to include, or at least look at including Narcan training for police officers in the city budget. Officers are oftentimes first on the scene for an opioid overdose. Narcan is simple, safe, and saves lives. I know we have a volunteer fire department, but I don't know if the officers that we have on staff are trained with Narcan, and training ensures that they're equipped not just with the tool, but also with the confidence to use it. It's really just a small investment for a massive return on human lives. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else like to speak in the public hearing? All right, that being said, I'll close the public hearing. Need someone to move the resolution to get it on the table so we can have discussion. Maybe answer some of those questions too. Councilmember Chamberlain-Craig.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll move E1, adoption of the 2025-2026 annual city budget as printed in the agenda packet.
Support.
Moved by Councilmember Chamberlain-Craig, supported by Mayor Pro Tem Gunn, that we approve E1, adoption of the 2025-2026 annual city budget, subject to the late submittal, I'm sure was what they meant, and also printed in the agenda packet. Before we jump into any discussion, seems to me the two questions that were asked could be relatively easily answered. My guess is we already do provide for Narcan training. So I'm getting yeses from everyone, so that's taken care of. As far as the traffic study, that's a whole different process. The budget would certainly cover the funds related to a traffic study as necessary. In that process, I'm looking at our planning director, but I should go to the city manager. I'm sure it'll be addressed when there's an actual project, because even our civic buildings have to go through the planning department and the planning commission process, site plan approval. So all that would be addressed there. Okay. All right, discussion on the budget. Mayor Pro Tem Gunn.
Well, I want to express, first of all, how much hard work the financial department's put into this. Now that I've been through it for a year, I see everything you guys have done, and it's an amazing job. You've done a great job of keeping Troy financially, fiscally responsible. Wait for it. However, the one thing that I bring up is the reserve, and we brought this up I know we need it, and I think it's been managed really well. From everything I've learned, it's a $20 million, but I do believe we need to have a discussion and establish some sort of policy as to the maximum, and if it exceeds that, and we haven't had any dips year after year, because we all know the city still needs money, and whether it's, the $112 million bond, or whether we can just put $5 or $6 million into some projects, I think it's important to establish some sort of public agreement that, look, 20 million is our threshold. We get to 21, we can spend it, or 22 or 27. Just my thoughts, but overall, I'd say you guys have done a phenomenal job, and I applaud you very much. So I support this budget.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Gunn. Councilmember Chamberlain-Craig.
Thank you, Mayor. Also want to echo my thanks to staff, Rob, Kyle, our city manager, Nastasi, and all the staff who I see you out there who put countless hours, I know, into this budget. For me, what this budget meant to me was it really hit home. Yes, we're in a great financial position as a city, but we have constraints. And really, for the first time, it became so clear to me as we analyzed it as a council where those constraints exist. I mean, even if we just start with our millage rate this year in this proposed budget, 9.79 mills, that is the lowest since I have been on council. And I was asking Councilmember Hamilton, I think the lowest in the city's history possibly. I mean, that's low. And of that, I was reminded in the budget, just the general operating part that from which we pay for public safety, that has stayed the same. If I'm reading correctly, since 2005, that's correct. That's like 20 years. And we know expenses have not stayed the same. Life is more expensive, as it is for a city. So bearing that in mind, and then when we get the question from residents, well, why can't your increase in tax revenue? Why can't that pay for those things that you need? And looking at the numbers, if you look at just the increase in the taxable value, if you look at just take that little portion, that is 7.7 million. That's not all of the taxes. That's just the part due to the increase in taxable value. It hit me 7.7. You can hardly do 4 miles of road, maybe a couple miles. You can't address a library that has at least 50 or less, has around $50 million of challenges and about 100 million of other key capital challenges. So 7.7 is not enough. And then to tackle what my colleague just shared about fund balance, a lot of that money we can't touch. It is tied up. And even of the money you can touch in that, a fund balance is like your savings account. You don't want to touch that. We have a policy of 20 to 30% because we have a cap on our operating millage. Because if a crisis happens, you want to know that you have money in your savings account. And so this kind of hit me. That's money that you don't want to tap into because there could be times when you need it, and we need to have that money there. And even if you tap into some of it, again, maybe a couple miles of road, but nothing to solve the aging infrastructure that we have. So as I thought about many of those things and then thought about how our population is growing, and with that, the demands, more pickleball, we heard today from seniors, wheelbarrows that are not working any longer out at the senior farm, out at the Troy farm for the senior gardens. We have more and more demands. And we also have to remember in this environment, we can't expect the federal government to come in and save us with big ticket items. And who knows what we might get from the state. So it raises constraints and it raises challenges that we as a council have to problem solve. And that's what we're attempting to do. And I'm committed with council and with all of you. I mean, this is an ask for all of our community. We have to problem solve together. And we're diving into that, and we hope that we can come together as a community and tackle this together.
Thank you. Good points. Councilmember Chanda?
Thank you, Mayor. First of all, I also want to join my colleagues to congratulate and thank Rob, Kyle, and City Manager Nastasi, and the entire team for the content of the budget. And it's really in detail, great detail, and I read it through almost every 360 or 370 pages, went through line by line. It's very easy to follow, pretty self-explanatory, and I'm actually asking those who are watching, our city residents, to go through the budget to understand how the city operates. I mean, that will answer a lot of the questions. We do have one of the lowest millage rate in probably entire state, and definitely the lowest millage rates, 9.79 in Oakland County. With that, we are doing a lot of good things. Our priorities, as always, been public safety. I believe in this budget, we increased police funding by 5.8%, fire by 8.5%, which is also accounting for EMS, which we expect to spend more money on that to improve our response time. A lot of things we are doing. We have a healthy fund balance of 20 to 30%. That is, as Councilmember Chamberlain-Krenga mentioned, is something we need to keep. I mean, most of it we cannot touch. Most of it is committed. to something, and the ones that is not committed, it's a good, healthy practice to keep that amount of money. We also realize that we don't have a lot of fund balance in our capital fund, where we do need capital infusion and things like library building. We just realized that our police roof was leaking, and right now I believe our capital fund balance is less than $2 million, which is literally nothing. In a city like Troy, we cannot live with that, so we do need to tackle this after this budget, go into great detail of discussion among ourselves and with the citizens to see what's the best way to get some capital infusion, but that is up to the citizens at the end of the day. Today, I'm very happy to support this budget. I mean, this is a very responsible budget. It's keeping with the values of the city, it's keeping with the values of our council, our staff. We're addressing everything we can. We are wonderful operating excellence of our city administration, but the capital needs are there, and we'll have to address that. But today I'm very happy and proud to support this budget. I intend to vote yes on this.
Thank you, Councilmember Chanda. This side of the table. Councilmember Hamilton.
Thanks, Mayor. For the millage rate of 9.79 for the average citizen of Troy, costs about $136 a month in property tax. For that, you get police protection, fire protection, roads, park, recreation, trash, library, senior transportation, historic village, and a lot more. I think we run a tight ship here and bring an incredible value to our community. As everyone says, our long-term capital needs are something that needs to be addressed. We haven't had a capital bond or a capital infusion in our city for 26 years, since 1999, when I was in high school at Troy High. So since then, the only thing that's gotten more millage, more property tax has been our library. And that was after the Great Recession to keep it alive when it was running on fumes. So, and even though we've grown throughout the last 25 years, when you look at the numbers, the growth mostly has just gone to inflation. We're still clawing back from where we were funded as a city 25 years ago when we had our last big capital infusion. So this budget continues our tradition of conservative fiscal management, but as we said, that is just to maintain what we have now. If we want to get to the next step, we'll continue this discussion on capital needs, but I proudly support this budget.
Thank you, Councilmember Hamilton. Councilmember Hoderick.
Thank my colleagues for their comments, and I'm in agreement with all of them. The fund balance, the 20 to 30%, I just want to remind folks that that was a policy we set after meeting with a bond rating analyst and conducting a study session about how we make sure we protect our really valued, much coveted cities who don't have this, would give their IT to have it, a AAA bond rating. The operating millage cap that was voted in by this community makes protecting that AAA bond rating just a little dicier for us. Every council since then has been vigilant to do so. And our fund balance, that 20 to 30%, is something that is extremely valuable to us as taxpayers, that the city is being that fiscally responsible, using a 3-year budget practice, a best practice, modeled after the Oakland County's best practice, one that we followed for years. So this budget, once again, establishes for all of us as residents a very responsible budget that tries to deliver as much of what our residents want as possible. So to my newer colleagues, as you look at that policy, if you do take a step back and try to reevaluate that, just please keep in mind that background and the reason that we have that practice. Over the years, and I'm in my 12th year, there has been an X factor that comes up, just like it can in your house, as you manage your life. And sometimes, the recommendation of keeping 6 months' salary in your savings account versus 3 months, the time that you've made sure you've had 9 months, you were so grateful because of that X factor in life that comes along. And we've had a few of those along the way where having that fund balance healthy and protected has really served our community very, very well. So I would caution to make sure that we do continue to do that. To staff, thank you. Appreciate all the great detailed work that went into this. At the end of last year's budget study session and process, we talked about how this past year would be the year of capital and studying our capital needs, and that is what we've been doing. Even prior to our budget study session in April, Council has been locking arms with staff to try to understand the needs. And in the day-to-day work that you all do operationally, keeping us on track, helping us identify, and blending that with the priorities that we bring to you from our fellow residents has been a tough, tough task. And there was a lot of great work, especially in that December-January timeframe, that feeds into this budget. And I just wanted to take a minute to thank you all. City Manager Nastasi stepped in and just helped push really hard to keep us on track. And for all those good reasons, I feel very good about this budget. I know this community and this council and this staff will lock arms and do the problem solving, that's a great way to put it, together as we go forward. And I'm very confident and optimistic that we can be really responsible to our own pocketbooks at home as we do it. So thank you, and yes, I'll be voting yes.
Can I make a clarification?
Yeah, I think I know what your clarification is. Go ahead.
Well, I just want to make sure everybody in the audience, everybody watching, understands I am very much supportive and advocate for the 30%, excess money so that we do solve any problems. My comments were relating to exceeding that. If we get up to 23, 24, 25 million and we only needed 21 or 22, case in point, and I know we got the money, but, brought up about the wheelbarrows, we got the money for that. But it's not the 2-3 mile road I'm talking about. It's the little things that are brought to our attention. Hey, what about this in the park? Hey, what about this over here? So I'm not talking about needing the $20 million we need for a road. I'm just mean the little things that go above and beyond. There are a few $100,000 here, $10,000 there. But I am an advocate for the 30%, 100%. I know that's important and that's the threshold, and so I'm very supportive of that. So my comments related to exceeding that.
Very good. Thank you for that. Councilmember Brooks asked if I would just read these couple sentences on her behalf tonight. She said, "I'd like to extend a sincere thanks to the city staff and administration for their hard work in developing this comprehensive budget. The budgeting process is both lengthy and detailed, and I appreciate the diligence that has gone into it. Earlier this year, we dedicated an entire day to reviewing the city's priorities, and I believe the final budget is a reflection of those discussions and reflects our values. While I regret that I'm unable to be present today to cast my vote, I want to express my full support for this budget. At the same time, it highlights some areas that warrant our attention, particularly our capital needs. How we address these challenges remains an important and ongoing conversation." So that was from Councilmember Brooks. And I just have a couple comments too, not as Councilmember Brooks. You thought that was funny? Well, I don't know. I really, of course, as we've all said, we really do appreciate from our perspective all the work that the city manager and city staff and team and everybody who's sitting out here tonight and who's not here tonight but works on this does to make sure we have something that's comprehensive and digestible for us I'll give a lot of thanks to the finance department for putting it in a format that makes sense to us. When we had our budget study session in April, when we first saw the proposed budget, to Councilmember Hoderick's point, that wasn't the first time we started thinking about what was going to need to be spent this year by any means. We've been talking about these issues all throughout the year, and we'll continue to talk about them as we move through each day and week ahead. But I am thankful, again, for city staff for the process that goes into this to make sure we have something that is digestible from a standpoint for what we're approving, but also something that continuously wins awards for its presentation standards. And of course, it is available on our website, as are, I think, about 60 years of previous budgets I was looking earlier. They've all been scanned in. So if you're curious what happened in the 1972 budget of the city of Troy, you can go online and look, although it is pretty fascinating. But my point is our budget process is a year-long process, not just these past couple months, but obviously we put a heavy focus on it now, and I'm very grateful for what I have before me tonight to support. Obviously, it's been talked about that our city's priorities and our residents' priorities are always public safety, infrastructure, parks and recreation. I mean, those are the core things that we're responsible for providing as a city government. And this budget, like our previous budgets, puts the focus there. And that's always my first standard, right? Are they, the city staff, hearing the policies and what we're talking about, bringing from our residents to make sure, and of course they are. So I'm happy to support the budget for those reasons. A little bit of conversation was had tonight about the future and the capital needs, and we'll continue to have those conversations. This budget, while very healthy from an operational standpoint, if given a close eye, you'll see that there's not a lot of wiggle room for big capital projects. In fact, there's no wiggle room for big capital projects. We take on capital projects that are absolutely necessary in the moment in our annual budget, but without additional funds, some of the bigger projects aren't going to happen. So we'll continue to talk about that, as everyone has said. I'm glad you clarified about the fund balance, the unassigned fund balance policy. I knew what you meant, and because we talked a little bit about it in the budget study session. We do have a policy of 20 to 30%. I believe we're over the 30%, or right at it right now. We're right at it right now. We often end up over that 30%. And yeah, those are, there's times when we've needed a lot of it. For example, when we had to pay out the firefighter incentive program. And there's times when it's just nice to have that flexibility for the wants and needs of our community. So I've said many times in agreement with you, I'm not a big fan of being way over that 30%, and I think that city staff for the most part has generally tried to present something to us that falls in line with that. And I can remember years past them coming back and saying, hey, well, good news, there's extra funds in the unassigned fund balance, and these are the projects that we've been kicking down the can year after year, so let's bring them forward. So that tends to be where it goes, which is a good thing. But I appreciate that comment and understand where you are with that. That's really it. I mean, again, this is I said it last year, it's a bread and butter budget. Our budgets are pretty much bread and butter. We're focused on the core priorities of our community, and that's what I see before me here in the 2025-2026 annual city budget as presented. So with that, I will call for the vote for Ms. Dixon.
Councilmember Chamberlain-Crainga.
Yes.
Councilmember Chanda.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Gunn.
Yes.
Councilmember Hamilton.
Yes.
Councilmember Hoderick.
Yes.
Mayor Baker.
Yes, motion carries. Tomorrow morning, you can start working on next year's budget. All right. That's what happens. All right, next up is public comment for items on the agenda from Troy residents and businesses. I see Russell Reynolds is signed up. Yeah. That was, okay, very good. Venkatesh Haranahali. Same rules as before, 3 minutes.
Good evening, Mayor and Council members. Thanks for your service. I'm a resident of Troy, and I want to bring one of the incidents that happened last week in the Robin Hood Park in Troy, Michigan. So I'm just going to read what I wrote here. On Thursday, May 1st evening, I went running at Robin Hood Park, as I do every day, at around 7 p.m. There was another gentleman who had initially leashed his dog and was also running. And in the middle of the park, he unleashed his dog, and the dog was 50 feet away from him. away from the owner. So I requested the owner to please leash his dog, since I was also jogging at a very brisk pace. And I was sure that I was going to encounter the unleashed dog. The owner responded not cordially by stating that he would not leash his dog, as there was no ordinance set by the city, placing all the other people, including young children and the elderly in the park, at risk at that time. I mentioned to him that there was a city rule to leash the pets, and it was clearly displayed on a board, on a rule board on the east side entrance of the park. The owner still refused to leash his dog and made some impolite remarks in the process. Currently at the Robin Wood Park, that is just opposite to the Morse Elementary School, the rules are only displayed at the east side entrance, and the north side entrance does not have, as many people also use that entrance. So I kindly request the city to ensure that these rules regarding the leashing of the dogs should be enforced in public parks by properly displaying rules at the entrance of the park. So doing this would ensure the health, safety of all the residents utilizing the park facilities, and help them to continue spending a very leisure time at the public park around the city. Thanks for your time.
Thank you very much. That concludes those that have signed up for public comment for items on the agenda from Troy residents and businesses. Now's an opportunity for council and administration to respond or reply. City Manager Anastasi?
Yeah, it doesn't sound like it's a display issue. It sounds like a compliance to the ordinance. So I would recommend to anybody, if you see anything like that, to contact the PD and they'll address it. So.
The non-emergency line, unless it is an emergency, I guess I should say.
Correct.
I will say, I used to run a lot more, but in Firefighters Park, and I would often see people with their dogs off leash, and I used to tell them that they should put their dogs on a leash because there's a police officer working around the park looking for these kind of offenders, and it worked every time, miraculously. And I know that doesn't sound very honest, but that's what I did because it is important and it's scary. I've been bitten by a dog in that kind of setting, and no one should have to feel like that. But obviously, like City Manager Anastasi said, you can reach out to the police department. Sometimes it doesn't work that quickly, and I know it's difficult, but I certainly would expect also if there is an issue with any signage, that'll be looked into as well for notification, because you're not allowed to have your dog off leash in our parks. You're right about that. Councilmember Chamberlain-Craingo.
Thank you, Mayor. Also, as a runner, I've had dog encounters, and I'm so sorry, sir. I'm so sorry that, because I've also had to approach people about their dogs, that you had such an encounter. Something that did cross my mind, as we have warm weather and people will be out with their dogs more, maybe we could do a little social media blitz as well, just to remind people that, as you're in the park, we actually have an ordinance to this effect, so maybe some public education, but I'm so sorry, sir.
I like that idea.
Yes.
People who take their dogs off leash are pretty blatant about it in parks. I mean, we had a tree planting event the other day, and I was walking with somebody and telling them I was the mayor, and because I walked there for some weird reason, and he just let his dogs off, and they were running around, and they were a mess. I mean, so like they don't necessarily think about it, but it is something that is scary and a public safety issue. So thank you for bringing that forward this evening. Really does help. All right. We have no postponed items this evening. We'll move on to regular business. I do have one. I1 is board and committee appointments. First up are mayoral appointments. I'd like to move the appointment of Stephen Gottlieb to the Brownfield Redevelopment Authority for the term expiring April 30th, 2028.
Support.
Moved by the chair, supported by Councilmember Chamberlain-Craingo, that we approve the appointment of Stephen Gottlieb to the Brownfield Redevelopment Authority for the term expiring April 30th, 2028. Any discussion? The vote, Ms. Dixon.
Councilmember Chanda?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Gunn?
Yes.
Councilmember Hamilton?
Yes.
Councilmember Hoderick?
Yes.
Mayor Baker?
Yes.
Councilmember Chamberlain-Craingo?
Yes.
Motion carries, and we thank Mr. Gottlieb for his continued service. There are no city council appointments this evening. I2 is board and committee nominations. I have no mayoral nominations this evening, and I do not believe there are any city council nominations this evening. I3, there's no closed session request this evening, so we move on to I4, which is the approval of the Troy Downtown Development Authority proposed fiscal year 2025-2026 budget and 3-year budget, and that'll be introduced by our CFO, Rob Malzek.
Good evening again. Just wanted to mention on April 16th, the DDA board discussed the 2026 budget and passed it unanimously. The mayor is a sitting member on that board as well. This is a really, really exciting time for the DDA as we are now able to finally spend money other than to pay off the debt. The debt's always been the first priority. The debt runs through the year 2034 and was refinanced back in 2020 to take advantage of lower interest rates. This budget, the exciting part is that it includes $3 million in capital this year to continue the corridor improvements on Big Beaver. This includes landscaping on the upper embankment by the DDI, pedestrian improvements east of Livernois, and also rehabilitation of the southwest corner of Big Beaver and Livernois. In general, if you have any other questions, I'd be free to, feel free to ask them, and I'd be more than happy to answer them if possible.
Thank you. Any questions about I-5? Councilmember Chamberlain-Crainga.
Thank you, Mayor. CFO Melzik, thank you for that, that summary. As a reminder, for some reason I'm not able to open up on my computer.
They're not opening tonight.
Yeah,
None of our
maybe
links
there's a
are
way to
working.
fix that if
Yeah.
you have a break. The life of the DDA, that is until 2033, is that correct?
2034.
23, because I was going to ask about the bond, because, okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. That
It's
is-
going to, if the DDA were to sunset it, the bonds would be paid off in that time.
Right.
Yes.
And do we have any anticipation, I don't know how this works, to renew that beyond that date? I don't know what that's like for a TIF district.
I would defer to City Attorney Bloom on that.
At this point in time, it expires in 2034. It has been extended previously, so that is something that might be coming to you as we get closer to the 2034 date.
Okay, thank you.
We did actually talk about that at the last DDA meeting.
We did, yeah.
Kind of in a way of, it's 8 years from now or 9 years from now, we're not likely to get started on it right away, but the general concept of it would, what City Attorney Bloom just said as far as extending it if we wanted. So, Mayor Pro Tem, you can follow up?
I certainly, another quick question. The wonderful marketing that we see, Welcome to Troy, even seasonal, is that, because I'm now just, is that through the marketing, we're able to use that?
It
We're
is.
finally using it. Oh my
Right.
goodness, this
Yes.
is great.
Because I think when you were on the board several years ago, we were very timid and tentative about spending money because the priority was the debt. But as property taxes have increased in the DDA, we have the money now to start spending it on good capital projects and some operating like the marketing. Yes.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem,
Mine was pretty simple. Just what's the plan on the southwest corner there of Big Beaver and Livernois?
Right. The southwest corner, it's there, right now, it's a little messy, I guess you could say, and it's in need of some rehab, and so we have some designs. I don't know, Mayor, did you want to talk further on it, or do you want me to?
Sure, the DDA or the subcommittee hasn't approved any designs or anything,
Yeah.
but when the DTE substation was done, they removed a lot of trees and made it looks pretty awful, I think, for such a prominent place. But it's a city park essentially right there that will just get replanted.
good.
There'll be some designs that'll come forward through the DDA.
Right.
Good, because it doesn't look that great there.
Right.
Correct.
Agreed. Councilmember Hamilton.
Thank you, Mayor. First off, earlier I forgot to thank all the staff for all your work on all these budgets, so thank you. I got lost in my thoughts, but when is I know they're doing work right now, it's starting to look good, on the landscaping. When is that project going to be done? And then I noticed in the 3-year budget, we have allocated for the next 3 years. So I haven't kept up with the DDA meetings besides what we see in our probably Could you update me on what's going to happen the next couple of years?
Absolutely.
Yeah, probably
Yeah.
Kurt.
Kurt's Nastasi, is Kurt the right person for that one?
Kurt's the right person.
We know he is, but yeah, it's your call.
Because we see the construction barrels up and I see the work they're doing, so I'm just curious.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Yes, the current DDI project is scheduled to be complete by June 30th this year. As CFO Malzak mentioned, there is some money for next fiscal year to add back in what was value engineered out. That's the upper embankments of I-75. So all the higher stuff was cut out. Fortunately, we were able to add that back in. Council will see that contract later once it will likely be a request for a bid waiver to continue to use the current contractor. Even though that was value engineered out, there's really not a mechanism to add it back in. So Council council will see that and ask for approval and award for the current contractor. We're still in discussion because that was 2 years ago when he bid that, so prices have changed, so he's sharpening his pencil to see what he can do. The DDA did approve $1.5 million to add that back in when they approved their budget, and that could be started as early as July or August. And that work would go again through the winter and complete of spring of 2026. However, it won't have the same traffic impacts as the current project.
Thank you, Kurt. And just for reference, this isn't for you, but just for reference for the DDA, all the funding we're talking about only comes from revenue growth within the Downtown Development Authority. So within Big Beaver, mostly west of Livernois to a little bit after Coolidge. So that's all self-funded. That's not coming from the property tax dollars that most residents are paying.
That's correct. West of Rochester Road, though.
Yeah, that's
Not Livernois.
Rochester.
Rochester to Coolidge.
Right.
Additional questions? Councilmember Chanda?
That was that was kind of my long-term vision for the downtown or this DDA. I think you already answered, like over the next 3-4 years. So is that we stop at Rochester? Is that what the idea is? Like we don't go east of Rochester at this point for the downtown?
So our plan was to start at the interchange at I-75. And what we have in there now, our first movement is east. And so we're going to go in between Rochester Road and, Livernois and Rochester Road for some pedestrian work. And then also that we'll call the park at the southwest corner of Livernois and Big Beaver. So we're moving east. In the future budget in 2027 and 8, we're going to start moving towards Crooks down the road.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so then we're going to move west.
But it is, to your point, the DDA district ends at Rochester Road.
So there is no
any east of Rochester Road would be City of Troy.
So there's no long-term vision to extend it all the way to Dick Winder at this point. That, like, extending it all the way to the end of Troy. I mean, it's not
The DDA
downtown.
boundaries? No,
Yeah.
no,
Okay.
no.
And we do have the LDFA, which the budget's coming up next, but that's kind of, Big Beaver and John R., the Automation Alley area too. So that's
That was
covered
more
by
into
its own
the
authority. but yeah.
beautification of the road itself. I mean, it would look really nice, but then that's a bigger question, not for today.
During our budget time, Scott Finley, our city engineer, had mentioned that, in working with the county, we're trying to move their next project, the county's project on Big Beaver, from the Coolidge area over to DeQuinder to Rochester, because that road's in more need than, let's say, the west side of the city.
But to your point, it would be up to us, not the DDA, to work on any beautification of Big Beaver east of Rochester.
City of Troy can
because-
also do that. But
And we do hear a lot about, there's a lot of questions as to, when they see stuff happening in the DDA, why is it happening there? And it's because the DDA is paying for it, essentially. But that doesn't mean we should not beautify Big Beaver Road and other portions.
Yeah.
I agree with that. Is there another question? Councilmember Chamberlain Craig?
Really quick question, was with the QDI, beyond 888 Big Beaver, have we had another one, or do we have another one on the horizon this year?
We do, actually. 888, that one's active. Then the second one is 801, and that, I don't have all the details on that one, but that one should be starting soon. And then I believe we have some plans for a third one.
Is that Bostic's development?
Bostic's is 801.
801, okay,
Yep.
thank you.
Any other questions? Someone like to move I-4? Councilmember Chamberlain Craig.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll move I-4, approval of the Troy Downtown Development Authority proposed fiscal year 2025-2026 budget and 3-year budget, as
Support.
printed in the agenda packet.
Support.
Moved by the chair, supported by Mayor Pro Tem Gunn, that we approve I-4, approval of the Troy Downtown Development Authority proposed fiscal year 2025-2026 budget and 3-year budget as printed in the agenda packet. Any discussion? Councilmember Chamberlain Craig.
Thank you, Mayor. I used to serve on the DDA, so it's something that near and dear to my heart, lots of questions, but just so exciting to see the diverging diamond interchange, to see that right at I-75, that really come to life. I was just driving with the family, of course, over the weekend and pointing it out and trying to explain how this is part of DDA and what that means. It's not from taxpayers' money, it comes out of the DDA through that tax incremental financing. But that, and then even the marketing, I used to ask every year, what are we doing with marketing? More just to remind us there is money, and it's a great opportunity to use it. So I'm very delighted. Of course, that made me very excited to see that and another QDI on the horizon. So look forward to the future.
Very good. Additional comments? All right, the vote, Ms. Dixon.
Mayor Pro Tem Gunn?
Yes.
Councilmember Hamilton?
Yes.
Councilmember Hoderick?
Yes.
Mayor Baker?
Yes.
Councilmember Chamberlain Craig?
Yes.
Councilmember Chanda?
Yes.
Motion carries. Next up is I-5, approval of the Troy Brownfield Redevelopment Authority, TBRA, proposed fiscal year 2025-2026 budget and 3-year budget. That'll be introduced by Kyle Veith, our controller, and there was a late submittal on this. Go ahead. Hi, Kyle.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. So on April 15th, the Brownfield Redevelopment Authority passed the proposed fiscal year 2026 budget. Within this budget, there are 4 active brownfields. We have the old TCF Bank, Somerset Shops, Harrison Poolside Apartments, and the Village of Troy. Brownfields have worked well for the city to develop our blighted or obsolete properties, which we are hopeful that our developers will continue to partner with us on these brownfields. Overall, within the budget, the budgeted numbers are consistent with prior years and the different brownfield plans, as there are different millages captured by each plan. As you can see in your package, we are projecting the fiscal year 26 ending fund balance to be approximately $779,000, which we believe is healthy and will help fund potential future brownfield projects. With that said, if there are any questions, we'd be happy to address them.
Thank you, Kyle. Questions? Councilmember Chamberlain Craig.
Thank you, Mayor. Want to ask, if I can explain it the right way, can an entity, a development that has already started development after the fact, secure a brownfield development status? And I'm asking in light of Kmart. So I was reading today in Cranes, Detroit, that a comment, positive things going forward, but it mentioned June, kind of work, expects June, work is gonna start off. But my understanding is they're gonna seek a brownfield, and I wonder, do you do a brownfield first? Okay.
City Attorney Bloom.
Yes, thank you. We've been in discussions with the developer of that site, and they have always said that they are going to be seeking a brownfield, and that was one of the things that allowed them to tear down the old Kmart building. So they will be seeking reimbursement of monies that were already expended in tearing down the Kmart facility and doing the environmental remediation.
Thank you.
So you'll see that in the future, I'm sure.
Additional questions? Councilmember Hamilton.
I ask this every year because this has kind of been a project we approved many, many years ago, the Harrison Poolside, right? That's the one by all the auto dealerships, right? And
At Stutz and Maple.
is that one finally starting?
So,
Be developed and everything? I haven't really driven over in that area in a while.
so for that one, the development, I believe, has broke ground, but they do need to submit an amended plan for that.
I think we passed that back in like 2018 or 2019. It was a long
ago,
time
and then
ago.
we amended it after that.
Yep.
Is there additional, Mark Adams, did you have something to say?
Yes, Mark Adams, and I'm the Secretary Treasurer for the Brownfield. And that particular question, yes, he has come back to us, Harrison Poolside, several times, and he's indicated that he's going to do an amended plan. That's a highly complicated brownfield because of some environmental issues there that would have to go back to the state of Michigan. So he's still within the time frame for submittals, but we're just playing the waiting game. At first, it was interest rates from the bank. It seems like it's other business factors that's preventing him from moving forward. So hopefully, we'll get something in the next few months.
Any other questions about I-5?
One more
One
question.
more?
Yep. I see Village of Troy as, a massive project, a lot of work getting done. I know that's starting to come. I know they're being reimbursed. When will the added value start coming back to the city of Troy? Is part of it already coming back? I think right now all of it's going to the mitigation work they had to do. I know there was like concrete removal and everything, but when will that start? That's a huge development. I think $30, $40 million value. When does that start coming back to us? When?
Yeah, so currently in the budget, we have through 2028 to pay back the developer for those those costs. So once we pay back the developer on those costs, that brownfield will come off the brownfield roll and onto the city's tax roll and start capturing those city tax dollars.
Great. Thank you. That's all I got.
Someone want to move the resolution? Councilmember Chanda.
I move I-5, approval of the Troy Brownfield Redevelopment Authority, TBRA, proposed fiscal year 2025-2026 budget and 3-year budget as printed on the agenda package.
Support.
Moved by Councilmember Chanda, supported by Councilmember Hoderick, that we approve I-5, approval of the Troy Brownfield Redevelopment Authority, TBRA, proposed fiscal year 2025-2026 budget and 3-year budget as printed in the agenda packet. Any discussion or any more discussion? The vote, Ms. Dixon.
Councilmember Hamilton?
Yes.
Councilmember Hoderick?
Yes.
Mayor Baker?
Yes.
Councilmember Chamberlain Krenga?
Yes.
Councilmember Chanda?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Gunn?
Yes.
Motion carries. Next up is I-6, approval of the Joint Local Development Finance Authority Troy Subcommittee, LDFA, proposed fiscal year 2025-2026 and 3-year budget, again introduced by Kyle Veith, our controller.
All right. So on April 21st, the Local Development Finance Authority passed the proposed fiscal year 2026 budget. Overall, the LDFA is operating as planned. The LDFA continues to support Automation Alley operationally by providing them with 60% of the tax revenue captures within that LDFA district. The remaining 40% goes to capital. However, capital projects do not have to occur each year, as we often build up that fund balance in the LDFA fund to complete a larger project. For example, we did the Automation Alley parking lot in fiscal year 2023. With that said, our budget is projecting the fiscal year 2026 ending fund balance to be at $295,000, which we believe is appropriate. And for that budget, that's pretty much all we have. So if there are any questions, we're here to answer them.
Any questions? Someone want to move on? Councilmember Hoderick.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll move I-6, approval of the Joint Local Development Finance Authority Troy Subcommittee, LDFA, proposed fiscal year 2025-2026 and 3-year budget as printed in the agenda packet.
Support.
Moved by Councilmember Hoderick, supported by Mayor Pro Tem Gunn, that we approve I-6, approval of the Joint Local Development Finance Authority Troy Subcommittee, LDFA, proposed fiscal year 2025-2026 and 3-year budget as printed in the agenda packet. Any discussion? The vote, Ms. Dixon.
Councilmember Hoderick?
Yes.
Mayor Baker?
Yes.
Councilmember Chamberlain Krenga?
Yes.
Councilmember Chanda?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Gunn?
Yes.
Councilmember Hamilton?
Yes.
Motion carries. Next up is I-7, amendment to Chapter 20, Water and Sewer Rates, and that'll be introduced by CFO Rob Malzek.
Thank you so much, Council and Mayor. So the earlier budget that you passed, the City Council budget, that had our water rates in there that you approved. So this is just procedural for us to do an ordinance to amend Chapter 20. And again, we have some of the lowest water rates in Metro Detroit. When you look at our peer communities, I think we showed you slides on April 14th where we are the lowest compared to all of our peer rates. This year we had to lower our consumption budget from 450,000 MCFs to 424,100 MCFs, and that's to address the continued downward trend of usage by our customers. And again, that's going on everywhere because really we rely on warm, dry summers to have our consumptions. And if you guys, since I've been here, this is my sixth budget, and every year we've had wet summers lately. So our fund with a lot of fixed costs has been hurting on the revenue side, and plus we've done a lot of capital.
Thank you. Any questions? Councilmember Hamilton.
Yeah, just in reference to that, I'm like a lawn care nerd, and my rain gauge yesterday had 1.1 inches of rain last week, so I don't have to pay for any irrigation for the next week, so sorry.
Right.
Yeah, so that's nice. But
And
yeah,
later this week too, I believe.
I
so
know.
More coming.
Tonight, I think.
Tonight,
so,
yeah.
Yep, but no, I hear that.
Thank you.
That's all.
Any other questions? Someone like to move I-7? Councilmember Chamberlain Craig.
Sure, I'll move I-7, amendment to Chapter 20, water and sewer rates as printed in the agenda packet.
Support.
Moved by Councilmember Chamberlain Craig, supported by Councilmember Chanda, that we approve I-7, amendment to Chapter 20, water and sewer rates as printed in the agenda packet. Any discussion? The vote, Ms. Dixon.
Mayor Baker?
Yes.
Councilmember Chamberlain Craig?
Yes.
Councilmember Chanda?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Gunn?
Yes.
Councilmember Hamilton?
Yes.
Councilmember Hoderick?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Council.
Thank you. That concludes regular business this evening. Next up, we move to the consent agenda. There was a late submittal for J03A, so please keep that in mind. Anyone like to pull anything from the consent agenda for further discussion? Councilmember Hamilton.
I'd like to move all items on the consent agenda as printed and as written in the J03A yellow page.
Support.
And moved by Councilmember Hamilton, supported by Councilmember Chamberlain Craig, that we approve all items on the consent agenda, including the late submittal of J03A. Any discussion? The vote, Ms. Dixon.
Councilmember Chamberlain Craig?
Yes.
Councilmember Chanda?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Gunn?
Yes.
Councilmember Hamilton?
Yes.
Councilmember Hoderick?
Yes.
Mayor Baker?
Yes, motion carries. If you are here for an item on the consent agenda this evening, all have been approved. Next up are memorandum and future council agenda items. I have none to announce. So we move on to public comment for items not on the agenda from Troy residents and businesses. Mr. Reynolds, did you intend to speak on this one as well? Yes. Okay, you're first up. Russell Reynolds for L1.
You did keep everything in the correct place.
It's fine.
Russell Reynolds, 1112 Heartland. I just wanted to speak a little bit on the library and the proposal. First thing I noticed is I did a quick count. The current library has about 213 non-handicap spaces and 11 handicap. The new plan for a library that's almost double the size has 242 non-handicap spaces and only 6 handicap. So specifically, like in the studies, it said accessibility numerous times. Why is the number of handicap spaces being cut in half? Also, the community center building often gets really full. Like parking sometimes is hard to find, so you can't really rely on that lot to make up for the additional parking that you'll need for a library that's like doubling in size. Okay, next thought. So it's been mentioned that you want to integrate the library into that landscaping. Being a 3-story building, you're gonna be looking over those wetlands. It's about 85% invasive species. You have phragmites, you have common buckthorn, you have teasel. Is anything gonna be done about that, or are we just gonna be looking out all these nice windows at all these invasive species? Also, with integrating it into the landscape, you're gonna need bird proofing on the windows. Because you're gonna have birds gonna be able to see through the building, they're gonna be running into the windows all the time unless you put some sort of reflective something on the windows in order to prevent that. Last point, so I read through all 112 pages of that thing. There were a lot of typos in that. And I'm not talking about the public comment, the public replies in the document itself. And it didn't really give a great warm fuzzy feeling when I know we spent a lot of money on that, reading through it and just seeing all these typos in it. So just wanted to address that.
Thank you. Appreciate you coming forward tonight. Mr. Colby, you spoke on Narcan. Are you speaking again on Narcan? Okay.
Hi, my name is Joey Colby Bernert. I live at 5125 Shady Creek Drive. I'm a clinical social worker and I maintain a practice in the city. Before I speak on Narcan, I want to express strong support for the library bond. I'd like to see a 95,000 to 100,000 square foot library with at least 5,000 to 10,000 square feet dedicated to meeting and study rooms. Please consider looking at Oakland Community College's Orchard Ridge Library or the Kresge Library at Oakland University for possible references. I am here to raise concern about the proposed dismantling of the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration and the Narcan grant programs by the Trump administration. These cuts put lives at risk. This is why I am asking the city to work with the Oakland County Health Department, if you are not already, to install Narcan vending machines in both the police station and City Hall. I have lost friends to opioids. I have dedicated much of my practice to helping recovering addicts. I spoke with the chief of police after my previous request, and he informed me that the police are trained in Narcan usage, and I am genuinely and deeply appreciative of that. We are the largest and most populated city in Oakland County. Having Narcan publicly available at City Hall and at the police station sets a strong example for other cities around us because we are the city of tomorrow. The reality is that fentanyl isn't everything. Pressed pills, cocaine, even marijuana. Overdose doesn't just affect addicts. It hits people who had no idea they were ingesting anything deadly. When I worked at Pontiac General Hospital, I routinely dealt with fentanyl-laced cannabis with people that were seemingly just trying to smoke grass, and suddenly they have a severe psychotic breakdown. And, you know, it's important that we recognize that that is the reality now. And the reason that I'm so, I guess the reason that this is so important to me, and I'm not stating this for applause or for being self-celebratory, but I'm a recovering IV heroin addict. And I've been sober for about 10 years as of March. Not a day goes by where the urge to shoot up doesn't visit me. My brain has been changed because of addiction. And it started with pills. Addiction rewired my brain, and it does that to millions of others too. You can see that in Philadelphia, Detroit, Pontiac, Flint, Los Angeles, all across the world and or in the States. So ultimately, we don't get to choose who overdoses next, but we can expand options for protecting our citizens. Thank you for letting me speak.
That concludes those that have signed up for public comment for items not on the agenda from Troy residents and businesses. Now is an opportunity for City Council and City Administration to respond or reply. Thank you both for coming forward tonight. Duly heard on both. Did you have something? Councilmember Chamberlain-Craig.
I was going to stay, and maybe you were going to mention it, but my understanding, so Mr. Reynolds, thank you so much for your care and concern for our library. My understanding with many of those details is we're not going to address them until we get to a point where, first of all, we've decided to put this on a ballot, we know what it is, and until voters approve something, it's very expensive to move forward with the architecture, and then after that we'll have site plans, and those are things that, many of those things you'll address when you get to that phase. So we're not there yet. We hope voters will want us to get there, but we do hope to address those at some point. To Mr. Colby, thank you very much for opening up and sharing your story, your testimonial. I'd love to, and maybe this is just you and I to talk and hear more about what have you seen other municipalities do, and perhaps even we get with one of our county commissioners, like County Commissioner Ann Erickson Galt, and see if there's something in terms of the county for me to learn what do they do and to see what could happen. I know I hate to put more on our city. We have a lot going on with the bond, but I'd love to, start by chatting with you and learning more. So thank you for sharing.
Yeah, I was going to mention a little bit of just, you're right, and not to pivot too quickly from that, because that's important work. And the Narcan stuff, I'm also glad to know our police department is trained in it. And there's been, I think I actually went to a training from Judge Hardig was doing trainings for Narcan at Troy Days one year. That's where I first got trained. But thank you, and interesting things to talk about on top of everything else, for sure. And the plans that were presented at the library meeting were conceptual by far. There will be a process, complete process, assuming there's a bond that is approved by voters and we move towards that step. All of those details will be fully addressed and looked at, and everyone will have an opportunity to be involved in that process, and it's a long way away from that. So fear not on some of those issues, but duly heard as far as all those things. I can't do back and forth. You can ask me a question after the meeting if you want. Okay? Any other responses? Councilmember Hoderick.
Regarding the Narcan and just the work we do in the community overall to help prevent drug addiction, drug abuse, alcohol abuse, one of the organizations in our community that's so strong and valuable to us that the city partners with is the Troy Community Coalition. Am I on the right track here? City Attorney Bloom serves on that board. Maybe we could be having some conversations there too, and maybe they've even been talking about this.
So,
City Attorney Bloom, sure.
yeah, that is something that they have been discussing. We are working with the Alliance for Healthy Communities as well, which is out of the county, and they have explored different places for Narcan training. The Troy Community Coalition does offer training pretty frequently. I am also aware that there are other places where Narcan can be found in this immediate vicinity as well.
Okay, so the vending machine idea, we can, maybe it's already addressed and we can get more information to you perhaps. And just a reminder that the Troy Community Coalition, the drug court, the partnership that we do, for those who may not be aware, it's kind of part of the DNA of the city of Troy and a lot of the entities, surrounding us, working with our police department to try to make sure we get help for folks. So just don't want you to think that we're insensitive. That's something that I've witnessed in place for a while. In fact, the first I heard of the opioid issue was back through our district court. Judge Hardig brought through an awareness session that we were invited to that was, 12, 13 years ago now. It's been a while. So we'll continue to work in that vein.
Any other responses? All right. There are no council referrals this evening, so we move on to the reports. Were there any comments on any of the reports this evening? All right. Council comments. Mayor Pro Tem Gunn.
Just a few things. First, I'd like to thank anybody who served in the military. This is Military Appreciation Month. Also, happy Cinco de Mayo. And finally, this is City Employee Appreciation Week. I'm going to be appreciating every employee in this city on Thursday with delivering pizza to everybody. I didn't expect a battle between police and DPW as to who could eat more. So my numbers of pizza have gone up, but I'll be delivering you guys on Thursday. And you don't have to tip.
Additional council comments. Councilmember Hamilton.
Yep, just for reference, there is an election tomorrow. No Troy residents will be involved in that. Is that going to be in? Is that election tomorrow not in Troy? The early voting was in Troy, right?
Correct. Early voting was held at the community center, but it closed last night. So now Troy's part of Clausen's election is over.
Got it. Okay. So that's why you saw that sign in front of there, yeah. For reference, a few of the nearby communities are going for bonds and millages of their own. I know that Madison Heights Lamphere is going for 6 mills and Ferndale is going for over 5. I think what we're talking about in Troy potentially is under 1. So just put into reference what other communities go for compared to what we are. That's all.
Additional council comments. Councilmember Chanda.
Thank you, Mayor. In addition to Employee Appreciation Week, I appreciate them city staff. It's also May is the Mental Health Awareness Month, so that is something very important. I think your emotional and mental well-being is as important as your physical well-being. So just wanted to remind everyone that if you know somebody who is struggling with mental health, just reach out for help. I mean, there is no stigma associated with mental health challenges. It's same as physical health. I mean, nobody feels ashamed to see a doctor, so it shouldn't be different when you have challenges with mental health. As you know, Mr. Colby mentioned, substance abuse often plays a role in our mental health challenges. So just wanted to remind everyone that help is available. You are not alone. I mean, in fact, more people I know, that almost everybody I know has probably had somebody in their life who has gone through mental health struggles at some point in their life, either themselves or somebody close to them. So that is very important to me, and I think it's important to almost everybody in this room. So take this seriously and know that help is there.
Thank you. Councilmember Chamberlain-Carter.
Thank you, Mayor. I also want to echo my colleagues in thanking staff for National Public Service Recognition Week. In a council manager form of government, it's actually the staff. You are doing the day in and day out work. We are the policy setting body. So I want to thank you for doing that day in and day out work, because we wouldn't be able to do what we do if it was not for all of you. So thank you. I also want to follow up with Councilmember Hamilton. The comment about some other millages being up on the ballot is it would be interesting to get kind of a recap afterwards of what passed or what not. But actually, again, I don't want to load our staff, and I'm sure Councilmember Hamilton, you probably will already know right after the polls close, so I can probably just reach out to you. But it would be good for us to know, because there are a different smattering of communities, some that are like us, some not. None that are a perfect fit, but different ones that can give us maybe a sense of what people are thinking. So I am really curious to know that information.
Very good. Any other council comments? Well, you have something, Councilmember Hoderick?
Just a reminder that you have a State of the City address to deliver on Wednesday evening. And I know you're working hard to represent all of us in the city with the messaging, and I just wanted to remind folks that that is on Wednesday. I've been around a while, and I have to just take a moment to say, I don't think folks can appreciate how much work the mayor puts into trying to make sure he represents us well, usually with a little humor, a lot of good facts, a pretty good sense of where we are and what our challenges are. And we wish you good weather for Wednesday, because we will be outside, and the community can live stream it. And if, mostly I try to stay out of your way, but know that I've been thinking about you. He's probably been on a laptop in every Starbucks in the community at some point over the past week working on the remarks. So thank you for that, and I look forward to your remarks.
Appreciate it. I guess I should start writing it. But did you have something else?
No, I just wanted to add, I reserved the Starbucks room for him for 3 days. I sent him a text thing on Sunday morning. So.
Well, so yes, State of the Cities, you can stream it on YouTube, and it'll be recorded. Of course, you want to watch it afterwards. But I was going to thank the staff for Appreciation Week by making them work late on Wednesday. I thought that was a really nice way of doing it. Maybe that's not so pleasant. They'll be so thrilled to be there. But no, honestly, I'm looking forward to it, and it's a collaborative effort on many, many ways. But thank you, Councilmember Hoderick, for your kind words. I actually wanted to welcome Chris Wilson, our new Assistant City Manager, who's at the table tonight. Some of you who've watched our meetings before might be thinking, who is that guy? But we're very excited to have Chris Wilson work in our City Manager's office, and he'll be here. Maybe not every meeting, but we're happy to have you, Chris. And I've already heard that your first full week as of last week went well, and you're into your second. It's off to a great start. So welcome officially, and we're thankful you're here.
I as well. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. I don't see that anybody has signed up for public comment for items not on the agenda for members of the public outside of Troy, and we have no closed session. So with that, we are adjourned.